I'm here with Vincent. He has been a photographer for 8 years, never took it seriously, except this year he got a client for $200, but never really had a portfolio with it. A month ago, he joined me in our program and he started taking it seriously. And now this month, like a month after, he got his first client who paid him $10,000. And now 99% of photographers never get a client that pays $10,000. So it was quite shocking for everyone that you got a client for $10,000 as your first client. Do you want to tell us a little bit about where you started, how did it all
Yeah.
go, and how you got here?
Okay, so I guess this might be a bit of a long-winded story, so feel free to, cut out parts that are not so interesting. For me, photography has been a bit of a personal journey. It started off as I want to document good times with friends, and whenever I travel or go hiking, the camera was a way for me to capture a moment personally. I also, for my hobbies, I tend to like to have something to sink my teeth into. So I got better at photography very slowly over time, but I did think of it as a skill, but not necessarily as something that I wanted to do professionally or for others. Eventually, you take enough photos and people start asking you like, "Hey, can you take a photo for me? Like I'm graduating or something." And so occasionally I would have friends who would contact me and then I would take some of their photos, but I was busy with my own studies and just didn't really invest that much time into taking photography as a business because also partially because being an entrepreneur is very sometimes it's romanticized, I think, where it's like you're your own boss, you have to like go and find clients. It's a scary world, right? And so like as far as career wise, I didn't really take photography that seriously because my other main interest is like physics, which is in some ways feels more like head down study mode, whereas photography is more of a social thing, which actually I'm really enjoying now. And yeah, there was one photo shoot in particular where like I had met this friend at some event and they said that they were doing like this fashion launch for their clothing brand and they were going to invite a bunch of models and a bunch of photographers and I had mentioned something about cameras and they were like, "Oh yeah, if you'd like to come and shoot, like we'd be happy to have you." A week before the shoot, they text me, they ask, "Hey, are you still coming?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm planning to be there." The day of the shoot comes up and I'm the only photographer there. So my friends who are starting the clothing brand are like super nervous. Like they're really freaking out because none of their photographers showed up. At this point, I hadn't shared any portfolio with them. They didn't know anything of what I was bringing. But by the end of the day, they were like, "Wow, you really saved the day and the photos look amazing. Can we refer you to people?" And I was like, "Yeah, that would be cool." But I also didn't have any. Normally, I'm a very private person. I really didn't post that much on social media. So I didn't really have anything to share with them. And so I was like, I guess I should really put some things together that are meant to be presentable and shared with other people as a photographer. And so it was pretty shortly after that where I had found your page and was like, oh, like the way I had thought about my photography skills was that I thought that they were good. And like, I think I had started to realize that the difference between photographers who charge 10 times more than other photographers it's not always about who's technically the best, right? Because it's more about the emotion that the photos actually do for people, how valuable it is to the clients. And so when I came across your page, I was like, this guy, gets it basically. Like, and so I reached out, or I guess you reached out actually with your system, which we can dive in more about, I guess, if you want to share that. But that was a month ago.
Yeah. So you're from California, right?
I grew up in Texas, but I've been in California for 12 or 13 years.
Okay. I'm sure everyone is curious who paid you 10K and how did that suddenly happen?
Yeah. So the first client I got for that big job was actually a winery. And this was from a semi-existing relationship before I had actually visited this winery before. The thing that stood out to me was this winery also throws a bunch of parties, usually 2 to 3 a year. They're more community events. Basically, anybody can sign up and get a ticket. The wine is great. They bring in local food vendors that also serve Japanese food. I don't know if this is true in Europe as well, but there's kind of a wave of people being really into Japanese things, like whether it's food or like culture.
It is.
And so it's like, yeah, the fact that there was this Japanese winery in Berkeley and their social media presence, their website were like you had to really dig to find out that A, they were a winery, and then their website, you also had to dig a little bit to find out that the people who were making the wine were Japanese in a sense. So this was pretty close to the start when we worked together, where I was like, I could see that there is this need that would fit with something that I can offer. And so from there, that was kind of like how I started thinking about them as approaching them as a potential client. And over the course of our working together, I think something that you really changed my mind on was selling as a way to help people actually. Because and that's what enables you to be able to dedicate that time to spend together and actually get results.
Yeah, so you started believing that selling is a good thing and not a scammer thing.
It felt kind of weird at first where I was like, oh, I'm interested in helping, and but also like I don't want to take too much of their money kind of thing. But it's like ultimately, if the thing that you're helping them with will give them much more money in return, then it's like kind of a no-brainer. Instead of like dividing up the pie, you're literally growing the pie. So getting to a spot where that made sense and also lined up with what I thought I could deliver, like one of the biggest things that I'm taking away from the month of working together.
Great. So what was the exact deal? They pay you 10K. What did they get for it?
I basically divided it into a couple of options. So in terms of packaging together, profile, brand strategy, refresh. So like I mentioned, their website wasn't really reflective of what I saw as their brand and what I think many other people did. So that first level was essentially redoing their website, reorganizing their Instagram, which they didn't know what the difference was between a story and a post. So basically, the first kind of tier was like I'm refreshing your online presence, and then also kind of giving you a bit of a framework for like here's like the strategy that your marketing should entail. The second
Yeah.
tier up was everything in that, as well as photography coverage. In the second tier package, I will also shoot around the winery and then do a bit of photo documentarian. And then the third package was essentially those things, but then with the addition of video, because video is basically another level of equipment, editing, all that stuff. But in terms of being able to actually communicate their story, obviously video is a big value add as well to yeah, for like social media.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so from what I understand, what we did together was at the beginning, we started working together. I was like, hey, dude, your business is a myth. Like, you don't have a business yet, right? This portfolio, we got to change this,
Yeah.
we got to add this, we got to add all those things.
Yeah.
And then we started working together. You did all those things and you did them really good. You changed your website really well. And I was like impressed. And I was like, dude, you're doing amazing. And then I was like, hey, instead of just offering photos, maybe you can help people also with their website, right? And then you were like, okay, let's go. And then I told you, okay, let's now get more clients using your social media. I told you exactly what to implement. You implemented really well. You started making really good videos. And I was like, dude, you're doing Instagram as well really good. Everything you're touching is really good. And so let's think outside of the box. Instead of thinking, okay, how can I give people photos or sell people photos? How can I help them transform their business? And so you kind of looked at what we did with you, which is like, okay, now I'm getting clients. Now it's like I'm getting leads. It's working. I see the value of changing the website. I see the value of changing the Instagram. I see the value of having more portfolio. What if I just did the same thing for other people? And then we basically, me and you, we communicated like, hey, what are places that you're already going to that you want to help? Like who are you excited to help? And you told me like, hey, I'm anyway going to those places that I love, but I see that they have a lot of problems. I can help them with that. And then it was just about making the pitch with the pillars where it's like, instead of, hey, I'll just take photos for you, I'm now gonna like help you with a bit. I'm gonna like, here's all the problems that I found in your business, which business owners love hearing because it's like that's what they all think about, right? I need to grow my business. How do I grow my business? And then you're just showing them all the problems and you're offering solutions basically in a beautiful way. So tell us more, like how exactly did you approach them? How did they say yes? Because most people are like $10,000, they're terrified to even say that number. But then also like the other side would reject it really hard. Like $10,000, are you crazy? I can buy a car for that price, right?
Yeah, the pricing is a super interesting kind of like internal conversation, I guess. I think one of the things that really clicked for me was well, it's kind of a combination of two things, right? Most people, I think, believe that they have the skills to do it. You know, if they're charging $1,000 to make a website and somebody else is charging $10,000, I think most people will believe that they can do equally good work as the person charging more. I feel like most of the time they'll see the $10,000 website and be like, why are they charging that much? Like, I could basically do that for less. But instead, it's a little bit of the other way around. It's like, well, if you think you're as good as them, why not raise your prices? And for me, that was a big shift. And then, like, even if you think $10,000 is expensive for a website, there's somebody charging $30,000 for a website or $100,000 for a website, right? And so, in that sense, even if you raised your prices 10x, there's still somebody who's charging more than you, and for which you look like a good deal. And so that was also part of when I was researching the package. I was like, okay, if I was a business owner, how much would it cost me to hire somebody to make a website? And so the way I had done the pricing was like the website refresh was 7,500, and then with the photography coverage was like 10,000. And I was like, in my head, I was like, some people are charging more for just the website and no social media marketing, no brand strategy or photography. And so if I were to think in their shoes, well, this guy's offering the website and all these other things for less than the price of a single website. So that seems like it should be a no-brainer.
There is also power to niching down and being like, hey, I am very good at websites or at taking photos or this. But I think what's more powerful than that is just getting results for people. And so if you can
Mm-hmm.
talk about to people about an ROI of like, hey, you probably get 1,000 people a month who are visiting your website. And this is how much clients you have. But if we change this and we change the photos on the website, but we change also the copywriting, and then we change the Instagram as well a little bit, and we change this, instead of 30 people that will come visit you out of 1,000 people who visited your website, you can get 300. And now tell me, like, how much would that mean to your business? And it's like, okay, I get it. Like, okay, that sounds amazing. But then also the combination of you already being a customer, being local, like there's so much trust. Like imagine them needing to get someone from somewhere else, right? They would need
Mm-hmm.
to, well, find them, know if they can trust him, because they never met them in person, right? Then they would need to go and like teach them everything about their business, which will take a lot of time. They wouldn't know if
Mm-hmm.
he understands their business, right? If you ever worked with wineries, or like, do you understand what we're doing here? It will take a lot of time, energy to find them and to teach them everything. And so you just came there because you already are a client. You are physically there, so it's like much more trust, and you live around, and
Mm-hmm.
you're a client. So one of the best ways is basically to get clients is to become a client of someone else, which is the whole principles of abundance with money. You spend money, you make money,
Right.
things like that, right? And so you just come, hey, I'm a customer and I see all those problems in the business, which would have made me buy much more. And if I didn't know all those things, then I wouldn't buy, because I live here, then I know that, but people online wouldn't. And so I can
Mm-hmm.
help you solve all of that. And then you made an offer, a very clear offer, which they just, and it's like every time I hire people, right now I'm hiring an assistant, I always ask them, and I see how hard it is for them to do. But I always ask them, like, hey, make me an offer. Tell me exactly what you want to do, and I'll tell you if it sounds amazing to me, let's go. If it doesn't sound,
Mm-hmm.
then we can find it. But then, like, I basically force them to tell them me, like, hey, Sam, I see this problem in your Instagram, this problem. If we work together, I will do this and this and this and this first. And then for me, it's just like, let's go.
Yeah, that's super cool.
And so you made an
Yeah, actually, that was another thing that something that they had shared was after the fact was essentially what you said, where, well, I said a little bit about how they basically didn't know how to use Instagram. They were very aware of they need somebody who knows how to use Instagram. And so something that they said they were appreciative of is that because I was a customer, I was somebody they could trust passing it off to. So like you said, do I really want to hand over my Instagram if it's some random person that I just met over the internet? Probably not, but if it's somebody who I see regularly, that's a huge value add.
Amazing. Well, tell us more. What did we do in this month? What helped you? What do you think like was more limiting beliefs that you grew? Because you have a full-time job as well, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So very
Yeah,
limited time
this
as well.
yeah. First thing we start off with the full clarity questionnaire. I think that's super important for anybody. Like, yeah, like regardless of whether they work for you or not, what are you actually trying to achieve? Where do you want to go? Because if you don't have a clear vision of that, then odds are you're just going to keep doing the same thing that you're doing right now. So that was super cool. It's actually funny looking back because like I had a lot of different visions of like, oh, this would be cool, this would be cool, this would be cool. And I think I narrowed it down a little bit, but having started from not actually having a business to wanting to run a business. I think that was more atypical to not have a more specific goal. Along the way, also your courses were really helpful in terms of like the first week I remember you sent me was like, here's how to get good at Instagram. Here's like, how to use viral stuff and like building authenticity in your brand. And then also the marketing, which was, yeah, just kind of like classic psychology stuff that I don't know, it's just like really well organized and easy to digest. I think.
We can actually talk about it, those mini shoots that you've done, because that's a really interesting thing. Because it was like a way to get portfolio, to get reviews, to make money
Yeah,
quickly, a little bit, right?
yeah,
And then to
yeah.
get experience and testimonials in like video format as well to the website.
This was the week where like, okay, I'm trying to maximize the number of offers, the number of times I'm like literally telling somebody, hey, I'd like to sell you this thing, and so on. And so the way the mini shoot worked was that I'm part of this like co-working space where there's a bunch of people who are also like more entrepreneurial minded, and so I figured they'll probably need some sort of photo refresh. The age of very sterile LinkedIn headshots is kind of over. People like a lot more natural and like approachable, friendly. So essentially, I was like, there's already a bunch of people in this space. Let me set up an afternoon where I'll go and shoot people for 20 minutes. End up sending out this advertisement to the community, the group chat, and a couple of people take me up. And those shoots went really well, fed into giving me more confidence.
Yeah, which
And
you
then
added to your
it,
website. It seemed like it was easier for you to sell something for $10,000 than $30,000.
yeah, actually, it's true. In some ways, it was. Yeah. There is some element of like, what is the actual value of photos, right? If it's somebody who's just looking to update their, I don't know, picture that shows up in their Gmail, that's not really a problem that they needed to solve. And so they're not necessarily willing to pay that much for it. Whereas something like a website, it's like, if your whole business is based on this thing and I can do a better job of optimizing that for you, then it's like, okay, yeah, like, of course, that's worth a lot more money. When you craft an offer, making sure that it's something that is valuable to the other person.
I'll share some insights that was from my perspective. The
Yeah.
first interaction we had, like I guess it was like me reaching out to you. Anyway, we started a conversation, we booked a call, and then on the call itself, I was like, "Oh, you're just starting out." Well, I don't usually work with people who just start out. I used to work with them, but I don't do that anymore. So I this basically disqualified you, and I was like, "Hey, I'm out of here. I'm not willing to help you."
Yeah.
Which was beautiful because then it made you lean in a little bit more. And then I was like, well, like I'll share with you why I'm not willing to work with beginners is because they question what I say or they doubt themselves. There's too much fears. There's too much things to work on. And I only want to work with people I know I can get results. Right. And so that made you even lean in more. And now you were like basically selling yourself on this. And you were like, yeah, no, like I can do this. I will listen to you. I can get results. And I was like,
Mm.
well, okay, if you prove me wrong, if you prove me that you're not like most beginners and you can do all of that, then yeah, let's go. Let's see. And then you were like, okay, let's go. And you invested yourself in your business. But now shifting it also
Mhm.
to 1 month, that puts the pressure on you to kind of be like, I'm going to give,
Mhm.
like this month, I'm going to get the craziest result I can.
Mhm.
And so we worked almost a month ago together. And then I was like, hey, dude, I see you're putting in the work. Everything I tell you, you're doing amazing. I still want you to make as much money as possible. So I'm going to do like an exception for you. If you're going to send me each day how many offers you made and exactly what you're going to do tomorrow to improve all of that, and like different things that would help you that I thought would help you make the most amount of money, I'll do another call with you. So it's like, hey, here's the benefits. If you don't do exactly all those hard stuff, which I know is hard to send someone an end of day report, to make a lot of offers, to make posts, different things like that, then you're not going to get this good stuff. So I think that motivated you even more. Then you made more offer. You were thinking about how can I make like a lot of offers, good offers, and that's where boom, suddenly like I get a message from you. I just closed someone for 10K. That was like whoa.
That was a fun week for sure. Yeah, I remember that call too because that was when we did our last call was when we did the posting on. You were essentially like, "Hey, I want you to open up your app, your Instagram, and like make a post right now, saying you want to help three businesses with their social media this month." I do think that was a moment where I could totally see most beginners shying away, being like, "Oh, I'm not ready. Like, I want to have more stuff." But I was just like, you know what? Yeah, like what was in it for you to work with me? Because I mean, I feel like there are other people who, like you could be working with or providing more value and like helping, and therefore, that you could also charge them more because you're helping them with like a more established business need.
Well, I did not expect you to make a 10K close. I would expect, but I did see you make like a 3 close or a 2K close or things like that. And then and I saw that you're like, okay, I'm in. I'm like, let's go. You already know how to communicate, which made it easier as well. So you already have this confidence a little bit in yourself of like, okay, I'm not worthless, right? Because a lot of beginners, they're like,
Mm.
I'm worthless. Photos are $30, right? Or just being like this yes man. When I see someone hesitating, like, oh, this is the right decision, they're kind of questioning themselves, which is like a lot of people do that. That's okay. But then it tells me that's like, okay, it's gonna take a lot of like energy to make this. And then when we worked together, I was
Mm.
like, hey, this is what I need you to do exactly with your websites. A week later, you're like, hey, I've done it. Or not even a week. You were like, the next day, I think you were like, okay, I've done it. And so the speed of implementation was really beautiful as well. Like the results you got now, this is why I love doing what I'm doing. And for you, like getting a photographer from $10,000 to $40,000, that's life changing. But getting someone from zero to $10,000, that
Mhm.
is even more life
Like
changing. That's
harder.
much more of an impact.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Yeah.
it's easier to grow from like 10 to 40 or 10 to $75,000 a month. But making your first $10,000 is like making your first $100,000 in general a year, right? And I saw
Yeah,
how
yeah.
you already figured out a lot of beautiful stuff.
Yeah, no, that was yeah, I mean, obviously very grateful, so glad you took a chance on me as a beginner.
You took
Yeah.
a chance on yourself. That was a beautiful part.